Well, hello, Bob Dendry here, and welcome back to Transport Fever 2, The Long Game. So, as we watch our train very slowly climb the hill, it's time to get back into building our wonderful railway empire here. So we're over here again at Los Angeles. So we've started to handle the demands that Los Angeles has. We are providing it some amount of fuel. We can probably boost the number of trucks or, well, carriages running from our fuel line into Los Angeles. So we might quickly do that now. We can probably double what we're carrying, I think. So we're running what right now? 5 actually. So we might just pop that up to 10, which is quite a significant increase, to be honest. But hey, it's better to have spare capacity, I think, than to have goods sitting there not being taken in. So that's all done. Other thing we need to look at is we also want goods for LA, and we have a goods factory right here, but it requires quite a few different resources to get producing. Well, I mean, it only needs 2 at this stage, but obviously there's a whole lot of things we need to do to make that happen. So first thing we need is plastic, and luckily we have a chemical plant right here, which requires, this one requires grain to convert over into plastic. If we have a look, we're not really that close to any farms to get us that grain. We've got a few on the other side of the river over here. It's an option. Or we have one over here at Peoria, which is what I'm going to call it now. So that's probably going to be the easiest thing for us to do, rather than having to bridge across the river here. And that's what we're going to start with. So this is going to be a significant line, and this is something that we can also reuse for passenger services through Santa Rosa and to Peoria once we get that far. So it's not all, you know, just for this freight line. This is something we can reuse. So we're going to start off by building a cargo terminus station over here. We're probably just going to make it the biggest we can at this point, and we will start it off with 2 tracks. If we place it here, do we get coverage of our farm? Good question. I mean, we're not getting any coverage right now because we can't connect it up. If we just rotate it slightly, or a lot, okay, we might need to go with a side station instead. That's probably going to be a little bit easier. So 320 meters long, not removing any fields, and we do have full coverage of our farm if we place that there. That's going to give us a little bit of a challenge because we now need to basically go through this mountain. But I think if we pull it over fairly close to our town over here, that will allow us to reuse the tunnel we're going to be putting through once we have a passenger line. So let's start off by doing that. And we're just going to be using some standard tracks here. So we're going to bring that in quite close to our town. And from there, we are going to curve it around. This is going to be quite a slow speed track, but that is okay. And we seem to be getting away with not doing too much tunneling. We've got a little bit, of course, but we have gone up the mountain a fair bit. So that's good news for us in that regard. Second thing we can do is make sure we pass quite close to this steel plant, which will allow us to reuse this line for other parts of our chain for goods. We're having a little bit of trouble here where we're wanting to bridge down, so we're going to need to take a bit of a sort of circular route, I think. And we're actually having quite a bit of trouble getting down, but we'll change this into a mound instead. But luckily we've got plenty of funds coming in right now, so we're not having too much of an issue making that happen. We do have a bit of an issue here though, getting this to work, so we've got a bit of a slope there. We could potentially disconnect this. There's not too much trouble with doing that right now. Obviously we might need to connect it up again in future, but other than that, yeah, I think it's pretty good. Yeah, we're continuing to have some issues with our slope. It is sort of quite high up, as you can see, but I think we're okay now. We should hopefully be sitting fairly flat at this point. I'm just going to reroute this road just to make it easier to have some platforms sort of coming in on this side, and we can just sort of go past those to get through. I don't think you can back a platform directly onto it. Actually, you can, so that's pretty good. So what we might do then is just to slightly reroute this road here. Obviously, the local authorities are upset with us because we are disconnecting towns, but we're going to reconnect those up fairly quickly. So hopefully they're happy with that. Apparently these are only small country roads anyway, so we could probably give them an upgrade. But because they are upset, we're just going to say you can get what you're given, I guess. Alright, next up I'm going to lay down our goods tracks right here. That is going to mean that we are going to slightly realign the tracks that we'd already had set up. And that's okay. So we're just going to have those coming straight past. And we will link those up here. Apparently we've run out of money, which was surprising to me, because we did have a lot of cash in hand, but our oil line is running quite well, I would say, so I'm not too concerned about cash getting a little bit low. We just need to wait for some crude oil trains to come into the station. We'll be good to continue on from there. Alright, so cash is back in, so we'll continue on building. One thing to note is we do have our iron ore mine. This is going to be an important link up back to the steel mill over there, so we'll pass quite close to that one. And then we're pretty much good to be pretty much just looping around to our chemical plant. Now there's a question that could be asked about whether we run a train to our goods factory or just some trucks. And I'm going to go with the train, and the reason for that is quite late in the episode. I don't think it was caught in the actual episode itself, but we unlocked a new version of the 440. So we're currently using the early American 440. We've now unlocked the one that it's just the American 440. And as you can see, it's quite a bit better. Though the top speed is a little bit lower, the power and tractive effort of one of these later 440s is more than double what we have with a single early American 440. So what we'll probably look to do is, especially on this route up here for our crude oil, we'll switch over some of those trains to run on our new varieties. That'll allow us to add in an extra sort of 1 or 2 trains. And in fact, we've actually unlocked some more things that we can look at. And we can reuse potentially some of those early 440s to run on quite short lines that don't require a lot of sort of speed and don't have a massive height differential as well. So that's possibly something we could look at there. At the moment, I'm just going to hook it up. We're not going to probably send on the materials quite yet, but we'll see what we're looking at here. We'll probably actually need an additional track here, so I will quickly add that in as well. Perfect, and next thing we're going to do is we're just going to connect this route up to our depot as well, to allow some bit of a connection there. We'll set that up as a bit of a triangle, I think. Perfect. Next we just need to do some passing loops and then we are pretty much good to go. I'm thinking we may actually double track this section between our iron ore mine and our steel mill, because that will have probably quite a bit of traffic running through. So we'll get our station laid down as well. Alrighty, and we're pretty much good to get our grain line set up. So I'm going to quickly create a new line. And let's have a look at the new vehicles we just unlocked. So we have now a B&O 440, which is interesting that it has a much higher top speed, but our power and tractive effort are also better than the early versions, but don't really compare to the American 440. So I think we might stick with the this one here. And this is what we'll use for this new line that we're placing down now. So we'll get that purchased. We can expand it along the way, but I think that's a decent length for us to start off with. Alrighty, next let's look at getting this iron ore mine connected up. So what we will do, we will connect it up to a main line. Once again, that's going to allow trains from our depot to come in, which is an important consideration we need to make. And that's a little bit ugly, but I think it'll be fine. We also have our coal mine over here that we will need to link up. We will do that via train. That will be a nice, easy connection. There shouldn't be really any conflict with this sort of pseudo main line at the moment. I think we will just keep it nice and separate. And we should pretty much be able to just hook straight in here. Set it as a double slip, but ideally our coal train will come in on the right side here and our iron ore train will come on the left one, at least to start with, and that will mean there's no conflict points whatsoever. Alright, now what I'm going to do, we're going to take one of these oil trains and we're going to make some modifications to it. So we are going to get one of our American 440s, we are going to purchase that, move it to the front, and then I'm actually going to grab the two older ones and move them off this vehicle. So we're going to use these for our iron ore and coal. Definitely coal will survive off one locomotive. We'll see how iron ore goes, but I think it'll be okay. It's fairly flat and there's not much conflict, but if need be, we can pull it off and upgrade it to a new one as well. Alright, so then what we're going to do, we may not have all the money we need right now to do this, but we'll give it a red hot go. It's going to split what we've got at the moment. We'll just get one more, and then we're going to set these two trains up to run on our iron ore and coal mines. And there we go. Perfect. And we can see here our first grain train has come and gone and made a very nice little amount of profit there, hasn't it? So this is definitely something that's going to work well. Our power's a little bit lower than we would like. But overall, I think it's a really good start, and we can always add a second train or a second locomotive, depending on how we want to, I guess, organize it. So yeah, all good there. Pretty happy with that. So I've just been monitoring sort of a comparison between this train here, which is our single late American 440, compared to this one here that has two early American 440s. And yeah, the late model is doing fantastic compared to the early one, even doubled up. And even as it's following sort of up the rear of this early one and needing to stop, especially on sort of this signal here, which is pretty much at the highest sort of grade. So I think we're pretty much a go ahead and start replacing our early models with the later ones. As you can see, we can also fit on a couple more oil wagons, which I will actually do as well. That may sort of offset the gains we have. In fact, only one will fit, but I'm pretty happy with that. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and make that change, I think, to the to this train here. So we'll get our two early American 440s and we will get a late one and apply that to the train instead. And we'll see immediately it's starting to pick up in terms of how fast it's going up that grade. So yeah, really happy with that. Oh, hang on. Might be because we've got 2. Did I purchase 2? I absolutely did. Well, that makes a lot of sense. Let's get one of those sold off, because yeah, we definitely don't need 2. My bad. Even still, it's yeah going quite well up the grade. But you can go back home. You're not needed. Okay, next we're going to need well, 2 things. We need a train to run between our chemical plant and our goods factory, and a train to run from our steel mill to our goods factory. And they're going to be 2 different sort of designs we're going to go for. So between the chemical plant and the goods factory, we'll just run with our early 440s. We'll just use the 1, and we can use some box cars for this one as well, which are a little bit cheaper, I think. They're not actually, they cost exactly the same, but that's okay. And our steel train. Now for this one, we are going to use a late American 440, and that will be a little bit better to run, and should hopefully get us some nice profit. Beautiful. So let's get that one purchased and on our steel line. I've realized we absolutely need more platforms here. So let's make some changes here. I'm just going to whack on a quick pause, because what we're going to need is at least 2 more platforms here. It's actually very short-sighted the way I went about doing this, so we're going to have to remedy that. We should have enough cash to do that. Need to fix that kink, but not worrying about it right now. Alright, and just this once I'm going to allow it to unload on the same platform that our coal train uses, and then we'll switch it across to use the other set of platforms. Alright, now I just wanted to talk through a quick change I've made. I've bumped up our coal train to 320 meters long. That's the longest it can be. Now that is causing a bit of a struggle, but this doesn't conflict with anything, so I'm happy for us to do that with one of our older 440s. On the other hand, our iron ore train, it does conflict with other movements. So if we bump this all the way up to 320 meters long, it's probably going to break this network a little bit. So instead, I'm actually going to run it as 2 separate trains. Same capacity, so we're going to have sort of a balance coming out of our steel mill. But yeah, it'll hopefully speed up just a little bit quicker than it would if it was a single 320 meter long train. And just finally, before we finish off here, I'm going to set us up with a little bit of a local sort of carriage service to serve Los Angeles. We do actually have trams at this point, apparently. So let's have a look and see what we can place down here. I'm thinking I'm pretty much using the regular generic trams. Okay, so they're horse-drawn streetcars, and if we compare that to our regular horse-drawn carriages, they're a little bit better. So we might actually go with those streetcars, and that'll be a nice, easy upgrade we can make to the network down the line as well. This is embarrassing. I'm removing streets here. Sorry, team. I'm using the right ones now. So we've got a nice little streetcar network we can set up. It'll allow us to go around our residential area as well as down to the commercial and industrial areas so our citizens can get to work. We'll just go with counterclockwise at the moment, and we will potentially, if we need to, we can create a clockwise route as well. Beautiful. So let's see how that goes. But overall, I think that's going to be all for this episode. So I hope you have enjoyed it, and I hope you're enjoying the new series so far. Thank you so much for everyone who left a comment on the first video. I do really appreciate, it lets me know that people are actually enjoying and watching what I'm putting out. And feel free to continue leaving comments as you go. Absolutely happy to read and implement any. But yeah, if you've enjoyed this one, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell so you get a ding to your device the next time I post a video. You can find links to all my social media in the description, so please jump on there, like, follow, subscribe to all that wonderful stuff. But until next time, I'm Bob Dendry. This is Transport Fever 2, The Long Game. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.